All right, my friends, we're here today at PLI and we talk about very important pressing issues, very important cutting edge things. And one of the things we're going to debate today is AI is not the silver bullet or the magic wand to betterment in project management, improvement in project management, higher levels of efficiency in project management. I'm here to debate that it is not the silver bullet, but my buddy Darrell, what are your views?
You cannot, well, take a step back, Phil. I would want to challenge that because there's no evidence currently as of August 2025 of that statement that you're making. I have not seen any evidence of that.
Good. So let's go by what we know. What is good project management? What is higher level of efficiency in project management? How do we define that?
I would like to defer that to you since you are, most experienced in that environment.
Okay, it's a very good technique. But let's also invite our buddy Ed to the discussion. So I have my buddy Ed Koch here as well, who is a seasoned PMP and has managed projects in different domains. So Ed, based on your domain experience, what would you consider to be effective project management or better levels of project management?
I would probably have to say, anytime that I've seen success on any project that I've ever led, has been built on the back or the foundation of being able to connect with resources, meaning as a project manager, we all know that most of the time, we have no direct reports. So, how do we create an authority, even though these individuals on our project team do not report into us? So, personally, in my opinion, I think it's about relationship building. And when you develop strong relationships with individuals, they're willing to do things for you that maybe they wouldn't do for their actual leader because they trust in the direction that you're taking them to.
It's a very good point, and I'm inclined to agree because when I think about the Agile Manifesto, which was put together 20 plus years ago, right? 24 years ago, it says we are uncovering better ways of developing product, which is a continuous thing. You never stop doing that. You're always, as a
But today's
practitioner,
Phil, I'm going to interrupt you. Today's product development is messy. We need to take a step back and understand why OpenAI started this messy build out right now. Because usually we're so focused on making sure the product has good quality, good marginal value. Now anybody can just put out a product and shine from there. Today's development in SaaS products, it's very messy.
well, again, we cannot speak for the entire community, but we can speak to certain products that you might have seen. But with that said, the world of agile is not embracing every single product or service under the sun, which is why there are a lot of companies that think they are agile, but they're actually just doing agile. They're not being agile. They're not imbibing the mentality. And that goes back to what Ed was saying, that what makes for great project management is actually more in the stakeholder interrelationships, the stakeholder engagement, the soft stuff. So, the Agile Manifesto, going back to what I was saying, it just says we're uncovering better ways of developing products, which goes in line with what you're saying, Darrell. We should always be uncovering better ways of developing products, which is why we're here talking about the world of AI as is it a silver bullet? Is it a magic wand? But the answer is while AI is great, it is not. AI cannot regulate how humans interact. AI cannot regulate how humans and stakeholders work together. It cannot. And while you always have humans in that loop as stakeholders, the people you're doing the project for, because you're not doing the project, at least not today, for AI. You're not doing it for a Grok or a Claude or a Gemini or a Bard. You're doing it for a human. So as long as your stakeholders are human, There will always be that human in the equation. And as long as there's a human in the equation, there's going to be variability because we're not perfect. As my mentor John Maxwell would say, the only time humans stay straight is when they're dead. So as long as you're living and breathing, you're going to have that variation. You're going to have that unpredictability.
Which I completely agree with you, Phill. However, we are in a era where technology is around us personally and professionally. We as professionals are still hesitant to take that technology and build a better idea or concept or method in project management. We're still
So
in
give me
that
more.
mindset.
Give me more to chew on. Are you talking about a system, a method, a framework? Because remember,
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Phill. Right now,
it
it's the wild,
does. It
wild
does.
west. But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of why AI is here. We can go
It
every different
does matter,
direction.
Darrell. It does matter, Darrell, because so for me, let me speak as an agilist. So it says, through this work, we've come to value. Where are you placing your values? Is it individuals and interactions over processes and tools? Or are you placing the processes and tools and the systems before the people?
I get it. We are still in that dinosaur mindset. That's why we're still not adapting to the full AI movement in project management. You're still
No,
coming
no,
at me
no.
with the traditional way of doing it.
No, no, no. This is not traditional. Traditional is schedule, cost, scope, risk, procurement. But the truly progressive project manager is one who understands it's not about IQ, it's about EQ. And it will always be about EQ, Darrell. Humanity, as long as there's humanity, it will always be about EQ because we're not AI. So like me asking you, okay, what do you want to build? What would you build? Whether you build, let's go through PMI's list, whether it's schedule, cost, scope, quality, resources, risk, procurement, is still not going to answer the question. But I think what could help us become better in project management would still have to be the humans in the loop. Borrowing your favorite quote, Darrell, as the human in the loop guy, yeah, if there's no human in the loop in the solution, I don't think it's really going to change things. But going back to some of the things I've learned from you, Hume AI, if only people could embrace Hume more in the project management community and use things like that, facial recognition, body language recognition, understanding tensing up and things like that, it could be helpful. But we already know people feel weirded out when you introduce such tools into a meeting. So it's
Right.
it's highly unlikely that such things will
And
be allowed.
that's what a lot of most what my interpretation of today's project managers is they're worried about it AI taking over, and some mundane tasks in project management have been taken over by AI. I mean, like you go on YouTube and you watch an AI engineer or a summit, and next the first thing that they put out is an AI project manager. That's the first thing they do in the entire summit is what we did. That's how the webinar started. This is how we created the process. We actually developed an AI project manager that will take care of the mundane tasks. Therefore, that AI project manager worked along with the product manager. So project managers, they're scared.
No, I could agree with that, Daryl. Now, that's where I can align with you on of the fear of project managers feeling like they are going to be obsolete. But I think the contextual backdrop to that though is the facilitation piece, meaning
Right.
how do I facilitate the conversation to, like for instance, you got Otter.ai, Firefly.ai. It's a couple AI taking notes out there, and I think they are excellent. I think they're great tools again, but we go back to when we look at the values of Agile's individual interactions over process and tools. Yes, I can use the processes and tools to be able to create immaculate meeting notes, but if I don't use the individual interactions to facilitate the conversation to ensure we stay on board, meaning on what the foundation of this conversation is about, then the output from what the tool is going to extract is not going to mean anything. It's going back to what you taught Phill and I about prompting, about if we don't ask the right questions or we don't prompt the right way, we're not going to get the right extract out of the tool. So I think it's the fear of, yeah, you could get a AI project manager to really drive that, but you have to make sure that you are prompting the information properly, I mean, correctly, as well as facilitating in a manner that is able to drive the conversation to, watch this, not results, but to the outcomes that you desire.
Exactly. So why isn't the PMI Project Management Institute having the same type of conversation openly? I don't see them opening up a webinar and say, this is what we should be talking about as project managers. This is what is may need to happen. We don't know the answer to this whole AI movement, but hey, here is the place to be for you to have that foundation, because we have thought leaders, contributors who actually developed Project Management Institute. It didn't start by one person, it started by a whole community. Why can't the band get back together, Phill? That's what I'm saying.
I think, well, can I jump in and say something real quick? I think, well, not I think, I know that the accountability is also on us as well. Having conversations like this more driven around how we can influence the change. How can we make things better in the profession that we're in? So it has a lot to do with us as well. We can't always lean on PMI with to have them to have a certain expectation to drive this conversation. What we're doing now is creating the opportunity for them to listen in more and say, oh, this is what we need to be paying attention to, because uh, agile really wasn't huge in PMI, and then all of a sudden you start seeing it being big. But again, I understand what you're saying, Darrell, and I know what you mean saying, hey, they should be the thought leaders of doing it. But it's like anything in life, when something you see is wrong, we have an opportunity, especially as leaders, to step in and bring what we and put and shine some light on it to make it better.
But it sounds like other industries are applying what I'm kindly asking PMI to do. Like, for example, the medical field. The reason why the medical field is progressing further in AI is because everybody's collaborating. Everybody's in research labs. Everybody's trying to validate the entire product, AI product, because it deals with real world situations. Project management deals with real world situations, hands down. And I don't understand the disconnect, why we're not in that same mindset.
It's a valid question, but I can also see how project management is disjointed globally. First of all, we have different industries that have different bends. Like when I go to train medical companies versus pharmaceutical companies versus hospitals versus oil and gas versus engineering. They're all different. They all manage projects differently. And the data, it cannot be used apples to apples across. But one of the things we can use is the understanding of our humanity. That piece, we've discovered that the reason why a lot of projects fail is trying to do so much upfront, trying to do things in a more traditional way. It usually does fail. But when you break things down into iterations and increments, they generally are more successful. It's been proven. Look at the virtual case file project from FBI. It was a disaster, hundreds of millions of dollars over budget. How did they get back on track, and how were they able to eventually build what they did build as a solution, right? They ended up doing it in an agile way, breaking things down. And the way we proceed in agile, you got to remember those four pillars. Individuals and interactions always have to be valued. We're not saying forget processes and tools, but you got to value the individuals and interactions, because that's what makes or breaks the project. Working product should be valued over comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration, which Ed was talking about, over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. So while AI is great, is not the solution to having every project run as smooth as ever. Once you have humans in the loop, they are the variable, they are the X factor. And once you have the humans in the loop, things get messed up all the time. Stakeholders are variables, team members are variables, the project manager is a variable. You know this, Darrell. So even if we built the best AI system ever, it's still not an answer to more effective project management because the humans in the loop will always be the variable.
Right. But you have nobody coming out and saying, hey, who has done this in this AI movement? Let's get together and let's create something or do something better. And that's not it. What I'm trying to say is what there's no evidence right now with that statement with AI, Phill. I have not seen anybody come out and say, okay, my project was this. I used AI. It was unsuccessful. I used Agile and I used AI. It was unsuccessful. Has anybody done that? Shoot me a DM, shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and let's collaborate together. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's going out loud and saying, okay, I have this project. I'm told to do an AI integration. I need help. Where do I go to? Nobody's doing that, even on PMI. Oh, take my course. Oh, take my cognitive CPMA. That's going to help you in building an AI product, which you never done before as a project manager. I wish that could happen, Phill.
While I see your point, as someone who is looking at it from a leadership lens, there is just no way a system or tool is a solution to the general problems we have in project management. Looking at all
But that's not
dimensions.
my focus. My focus is the collaboration. As project managers, in the sixth edition, the first chapter talks about leadership. Why aren't we applying leadership to be the forefront leaders of this AI movement? We're individually leading, not community leading.
Well, I think PMI has come out with their standards and their exams and this and that, but honestly, for me, it's I know it's not about that. It has to be on a different scale because AI, in my mind, is a case. It's a case by case application. We were just talking about how Ed applies AI and how it's different from you and how it's different from me. And this stuff is very individual. There's just no way we're all going to apply AI the same way. And then we talk about the world of agile. People are not even looking at AI the same way traditional people are for obvious reasons. Our focus is more on individuals and interactions. And
That
rightfully,
guidance is not on the PMBOK guide. What you're expressing. That's not in the PMBOK guide.
well, PMI will tell you the PMBOK is not the be all end all, but it's in the Agile Practice Guide. The Agile Practice Guide has all this stuff I'm talking about. I think the major problem with project management is people think AI is a silver bullet. And while it can help you manage data and give you all the Gantt charts and give you all the risks and help you see blind alleys, things that you were not thinking of, it can't do the grunt work, Darrell. It cannot be the person sitting down across you, like you and me having this discussion. AI cannot, you can't send your digital twin to talk to Phill. I mean, I won't even entertain it. I want the real Darrell. And that's how projects are. The stakeholders want the real deal. The stakeholders want real conversations. And as long as we're doing things like that, as long as we're not going down the crazy rabbit hole that the Diary of a CEO guy and that other chap, Mo, were talking about, as long as we're not, you know, freewheeling in our imagination that AI will become the overlords or the leaders, there will always be the need for the human, across the desk from you. As long as we don't have AI as our stakeholder, it'll always be the deference to the human. So you bring up a good point. Collaboration is definitely necessary. But let's also remember that PMI is just one of the many, many bodies of project management in the world. PMI, maybe they should be collaborating with the Prince 2 people. And there's so many other organizations of project management. PMI is
Exactly.
just one voice. Yeah, it's just one voice. But when you boil it down, here's where it's different. So in the world of healthcare, the immense amount of data and analysis that people are working on, it's convertible across the board of medical or pharmaceutical. It's you can use it across the board. That data is very insightful. But when you talk about our projects, they're very siloed. So our projects have to be looked at in the different areas, the different domains they're from. And only then is that data and the analysis relevant. But again, it goes back to the
Phill,
variability of
I hear you and I understand it, and I'm fully 100% support it. But why can the PMI, Project Management Institute, why can't they gather thought leaders like you and have you guys in a webinar and just share ideas, not go on LinkedIn and say, and look at someone else, a thought leader. I'm not going to mention any names. If you want to learn AI, come to my course for $1,000, sponsored by PMI. I mean, come on, dude. I can learn that on ChatGPT. Why isn't the voice coming from the thought leaders from PMI, from Prince 2? I don't.
let's be honest and let's come out of the closet, Darrell. I learned what I know about AI primarily from you as the source. You are my AI mentor. You're the reason why I gave GPT a chance. You're the reason why I gave Midjourney a chance. So let's allow the viewers to understand you in your own right are a thought leader, and you in your own right are not just someone who comes out with ideas. You challenge the systems. You're building agents, for goodness sake, there. How many PMs do you even remotely know that are building even a website, talk less agents? So when it comes to waiting for PMI to do anything about some of the things you've mentioned, I think we are extensions of PMI and we need to just take our rightful position. You need to take your rightful position. You need to share these things and you need to be a voice, the same way I'm being a voice. I've written books on AI. I've put out a book for AI in project management. And while AI was at the early stages 2 years ago when I wrote that book, I should probably revisit it with some of these new thoughts. So I appreciate you holding me accountable because I haven't shared any of my new thoughts, such as what is being shared here. And if I was going to write a book, it'll probably be called AI is Not the Silver Bullet for Project Management. It's still going to go back. And, we might have different focuses. My focus is more on using AI to get better. I actually wrote a book about this. And the book really just says use AI to be a better communicator. Focus on the myth, or I should say the dilemma of the 55-38-7. Albert Morabian did his experiments, a great professor at UCLA, and he discovered when you're communicating, there should be congruent. So, how can we use AI mindedness to help our communication be more congruent? This is what PM should be using AI to do. It will really pay them off in the long run if they could make a heartfelt, empathetic message to their stakeholders when they're late or things aren't going that well, or when they're getting ready for a meeting. And going back to Ed's point, they want to become good facilitators because you can have all the meeting notes till the cows come home. But if you don't know what is in the meeting notes, you're not going to be an effective facilitator. And it's these things that make us good project managers. It's not the data, it's what we can do with the data. It's what we know about the EQ, the emotional intelligence surrounding the data. And AI can actually help us. You know this, Darrell, because if you ask AI to do a sentiment analysis of your email or of an email that you got, AI will tell you, oh, that sounds a little bit passive aggressive. That person sounds like they're mad. So it can do that very well. And a lot of PMs, they don't do any of that. They don't do a sentiment analysis. They don't craft their emails with, using AI. So if I was going to be honest, what will make greater project managers is using AI for the soft stuff. It's not the tough stuff. The tough stuff, the earned value, the risk, the schedule, the all that stuff is all well and good, but that's not why projects go down the tubes. That's not why teams fall out. That's not what is bothering people's mental health. The major problem is the humans. It's not, we are the variable. The constants are not the problem. It's us. So if I was going to talk about applying AI, it won't be going for some crummy course like what you're talking about, people saying, "Oh, come learn from my course." All that stuff you can learn from the web. You can learn that for free. But what is most important is really the soft stuff and using AI for soft stuff. So using AI for sentiment analysis, using it to craft your email, using it to decode, how can I state this in a more empathetic way? How can I state this in a more insightful way? How can I cut out the words, too many words, too many lines? How can I make this a more efficient email? Those are the kind of questions that PM should be asking. Or how can I better engage my stakeholder? Here's a scenario. But people are so fixated on the technical that they keep going to hell on their projects because they ain't doing the stuff that's critical. Like the 80-20 principle, 80% of your horrors are from 20% of the causes. And the 20% of the causes are the variables, the humans. Just ask anyone, what's causing you mental stress on your projects? And I guarantee you it's going to be the humans. It's not going to be the
with their individual agents, their personal agents on their phones.
That's true. Yeah.
That 20% will be challenged. It probably is being challenged right now. I experienced it, that 20%, because I was in my part-time gig, I was asked, what did you do wrong? So we did a root cause, and we found out that I believed my agent when I'm vibe coding. Can AI or can project managers admit to that as human beings?
Mm-hmm.
So that 20% will be challenged, Phill. Not just by humans, but in collaboration with using your ChatGPT on your phone, because you're going to have a situation where you're like, I can't get this. I can't get this to do specific things. So I'm going to ask my ChatGPT. They ask the question and it gets good output, and then they believe it because it solves it. But then when they try to implement it into the real world, it doesn't work.
Well, again, depending on what your project is, it still boils down to human error. Failure to show up as a leader, failure to show up as the human in the loop. Yeah, just because you're using AI doesn't mean you've got someone to pass the blame on to. It's still a human. It still boils down to a human.
But we're talking about digital labor in today's years.
Well, yeah. So if you're talking about digital labor and your frustrations are from your AI tool, well, that's an area of variability that, again, one just has to look at as force majeure, which is common on projects. There's some things you just can't control. And right now, Darrell, as you and I have discovered, you cannot predict what AI will do in a demo. Let's say you got a product demo and everything worked well, and now you're in front of the client and AI decides you didn't ask me nicely. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna perform for you. Well, jokes apart, I get it. I get exactly what you're saying. But for most intents and purposes, Pareto's principle still holds true. Even if AI is part of that 20%, right? Maybe not from in this AI age, you're going to have some frustrations with your AI. Like I was doing some vibe coding myself and it was not giving me the output I wanted despite 10 iterations. So I now thought, okay, how can I ask the question differently? Or how can I solution this differently? That will get me this solving. There always has to be that human in the loop taking the responsibility or understanding what is causing the problem. So it's a very different animal, project management, because while it touches a lot of technical areas, in and of itself, you are not the technical expert. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do feel, but at the same time, like I said, I just wish the thought leaders can have that collaboration together, to have a more solid foundation for new project managers, current project managers to be like, hey, we got your back.
I'm still trying to understand what the outcome would be. So, if you were going to give me a deliverable that's smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, describe for me what that end result. Would it just be the collaboration of people talking about the
Yes,
topic?
yes, that's the focus. Nobody is doing that in our profession.
You and I are doing that with Ed right now. We're doing that. We just need more people to do it, and we need to have a macro, you know, it doesn't even have to be macro. It could just be, we talk about scrum of scrums. So maybe we take what we're talking about and we meet with other people and discuss the similar things. And honestly, I know that in the world of agile, there will be many, many opposing views to even remotely using AI for daily scrums or for, retrospectives, or you will always get the pushback. We shouldn't all agree. And I think the constant state of being kind of off equilibrium and trying to come back into equilibrium, having that constant constructive conflict is actually a good thing. It's actually a good thing to keep us healthy as a community. So
We should
I'm
have done that from the
grateful.
very beginning when AI started to increase.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not too late. We've been putting out stuff like this for a long time, Darrell. This is probably Wow. I think we maybe about 9 months is since is the last time we put something out. But hey, we're putting it out there for project managers to listen to hear open, honest conversations, to hear two, three friends in constant constructive disagreement. That's what it's about, is for us to bring concerns. So in the very beginning, I was thinking your deliverable, your SMART goal would be like some sort of system or some sort of solution, a magic bullet for PMs. But it obviously isn't. Through our discussion, I've now come to understand your concerns are just a greater level of awareness instead of saying, hey, there's get a dog a bone, there's infinity, go use it. Or,
Right,
oh, come take my crummy little course that costs $1,000. Yeah, well, there's no dialogue in that. There's no, working things out. And this is where the agile community gets mad at us so-called PMPs because they feel that we're looking at the wrong stuff. They always defer to the manifesto, and I defer to it as well because I know it boils down to what you just mentioned, Darrell, collaboration. And that's what's missing. Right? We always have people coming to PLI in lament. We have people in lament with the ridiculous implementation of SAFe, and people are being frog marched to take all these dumb certifications, which is why I can empathize when people complain about how their organizations aren't listening to them. There's no collaboration. There's no let's sit across the table and discuss. Management, I almost said government. Management just decides, well, this is the tool we're going to use. We know what you project managers need, or we know what you agile people need. You need SAFe, which is just horrible. So these discussions are missing in a lot of organizations. Just, and this is why I know it's going to offend people, but I don't care. This is why the draconian PMO mindset needs to change. Which
right.
is why when we talk about a PMO, a lot of times we're just talking about putting people in handcuffs and frog marching them to the front of the room and beating them with carrot and sticks. And it shouldn't be that way. We need centers of excellence. We need communities of practice. We need value mindedness when we're having these discussions. It shouldn't always be about, oh, the bottom line, the bottom line. The bottom line is good, but what good is the bottom line if project managers are not developing together, are not sharing ideas? And I think you're bringing this out, Darrell, and I want to thank you for that because it's very obvious it's missing for sure. There needs to be a higher level of collaboration, even if there was some sort of system or collection of, macro system that could better project managers. The solution will not become apparent until there's more collaboration. So my challenge to PMI when they're listening is, what are you doing as far as a community of practice? And don't tell me about the webinars. The webinars are just a one-sided someone teaching. No, those don't count. I'm talking about really like having a set of round tables, think about it like a scrum of scrums, where you have like 100 of these. You have like 100 gatherings of 10 people or even five, let's reduce the number, meeting in pods, taking that information, taking one person from that group of five to meet with another group of maybe 10, like people from 10 other groups, and then having that scrum of scrum mindset, I think it will get us further ahead instead of pushing crummy little courses and certifications. I mean, AI is still evolving. I mean, like what I put in my AI course, my Udemy AI course, what I put out there like just literally a year ago, is now obsolete. It's changed. So there needs to be a constant dialogue between as many parties as possible to move us in the right direction. With collaboration, we can do awesome things. And that's what we espouse in the world of Agile, transparency, you know. So if we are more transparent and we're having more retrospectives, I think there should be a retro every month in this world. And I know PMI can make it happen because they've got the resources. So wrap it up for us, Darrell. Ed, your thoughts as well as we wrap. Let's have Ed first and then Darrell, you go last.
No, I think this was a very valuable conversation. And again, I lean on taking the accountability of being thought leaders, and to become a thought leader, in my opinion, to borrow from Dale, in my opinion, is to really truly uh, get out and execute and do what we're asking others to do, that we take it upon ourselves to do it, and eventually they will catch up. And then when they do catch up or uh, align with us, then we have the ability to grow together. But a lot of times in different spaces, you have to be the catalyst, to be the one that makes the one that is the person that drives the conversation. Which I believe you guys have done a beautiful job today in doing that. And the next step is now continually to move forward. So I appreciate the conversation. I think it was something that needed to be had. And again, we understand that AI is not the silver bullet. However, it is a companion, or more or less a passenger in the seat that you have to drive when it comes to leading projects, to be a effective project manager.
Good deal, Ed. Thank you. Darrell, over to you.
I'm hoping, and I still have faith, Phil, that you know our profession will get together and have a come to Jesus meeting and collaborate and move forward. You know, leading, past, current, and future project managers on how to integrate AI in both our lives and professionally. And I'm still in that mindset that AI is not the silver bullet. It's a tool, 100% a tool. At the same time, if we do not come together as a community, that tool will take over. And that's what I'm concerned about. And with that taken over, that means the value of having a project management professional credential is going to go away in the near future. Back to you, Phil.
Awesome stuff, Darrell. Awesome stuff, Ed. Thank you very much. Friends who are listening in, why don't you drop us a comment? Let us know what you're thinking. Do you think AI will be the silver bullet in the world of project management? Or do you think that maybe, whatever your thoughts might be, maybe you feel AI is a stumbling block? But we really want to know what you think about the world of AI and project management. Thank you very much, and bye for now.